It's your girl Nancy Red, and this is season 3 of Mompreneurs on MadameNoire, where we celebrate beautiful Black entrepreneurs who are also amazing moms. Each week I'm chatting with my guests about their businesses, their families, their journeys, and their incredible advice. Now, my next guest is very beautiful inside and out, and she works with beautiful people, making them even more beautiful. Ashunta Sheriff Kendricks is living the dream, not only as a TV, film, and celebrity makeup artist, but she also has her own beauty business, Ashunta Sheriff Beauty, where her products are so coveted, they sometimes sell out in a single launch day. That is the dream of any mompreneur, and we are so excited that Ashunta is here with us today to share how she got here and give advice to those of you who might want to try and follow in her footsteps. Welcome, Ashunta.
Thank you so much for having me, Nancy. Thank you guys for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Oh my goodness, you're amazing. We have been very much looking forward to speaking with you. Everyone loves you on our staff. But before we get too much into the business side of things, let's talk about the mom side of things. Who's in your household? Who puts the mom in your mompreneur?
Whew, it's a big household. So I'm in a blended family. You can see some of them behind here. So we have 8 kids all together, and they range in age from age 7 all the way up to 25. At home right now, we have 4 teenagers. So from ages 8th grade through 12th grade. So we have a college-bound kid. We're doing in that whole college-bound process right now with Jordan. And we have so much activities between all of them because they all play sports. So highly active house. My other stepkids are with their mom, and they usually with me during holidays and wintertime. Holidays and summertime. And then my adult daughter lives in New York City.
Amazing. I mean, that's a lot.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. During COVID, it was crazy because we actually had all the kids except one. Aiden, who lives in Florida, my stepson, but all 7 kids were here, including the adult kid. And we literally had school in every grade because we had from pre-K at the time all the way to, I think, 9th grade. And so and we had a college student who at the time, Nami. So every room was occupied and it was like a different classroom. And my husband and I were like running up and down the stairs, and we were dealing with lunch breaks and, tutoring. And it was just a lot. I was like, God bless teachers, like that's just not in my wheelhouse.
It's not in your wheelhouse, but management is in your wheelhouse because, like, you don't have to herd kids, but you have to herd celebrities, which is worse, do you think? Having to herd a classroom of children or having to get people through hair and makeup and get people in their chairs on time and not have them diva out?
I'm an honest person. I pride myself on being honest. I think hurting kids is much, much easier than hurting celebrities. The reason is because kids actually listen to adults for the most part. If you have an authoritative position and kids respect you, they listen. Celebrities, they don't always listen. They're late. They're on their phone. You're like, lift your head up. They're down, so it's a lot of kind of dealing almost like with children sometimes. And I don't mean to, be degrading to celebrities, but it's because they're managing a lot. They're literally on their phones, running businesses, dealing with agents, dealing with castings, dealing with lines. And so they're like in their world. And so it's kind of like, hello, I got to get you to your face,
So if anyone is prepared to have 8 kids, it's you.
Yes, absolutely. Because I have 25 years of this experience, 29 years, not including the celebrity, but 25 years with celebrities. And so I think I'm a master herder.
Love it. So your baby girl, she's always going to be your baby. She's
Yeah.
25. So which came first, entrepreneurship or motherhood?
Well, I became a makeup artist. I started in retail, so I would definitely say mamahood came first. But my mom would disagree because as a teenager, I actually used to do the Black Caucus. I don't know if you guys ever remember that in New York City. It used to be the big Black Caucus at Jacob Javits Center, and it would be like all these Black brands. And so my aunt and I had a trucker hat brand where we did flower appliques and rhinestones, and we would deck your hats out, and I did really well, and we were there every year from the age of 14 to 18. So that was like my little side hustle. Yeah, we would do custom trucker fit hats.
And also, this is very important. This is before everybody was doing this.
Yes.
This is when you could have a profit margin.
We didn't have much of a profit margin because we used to just go spend our money on like clothes at Rainbow and stuff. Like we were really silly because my aunt was not that much older than me, my mom's baby sister. And so that was like our little hustle, our little business. But if we made $1,000, oh my gosh, it was spent like we would totally go to Rainbow.
No, no, no. Here's the thing. It's not that you didn't make the money, you just spent the money. It was still a profit. It just didn't last the whole day.
It didn't last. We would make sure we went out and found like food, you know. But the caucus was an amazing experience because we were, you know, literally neighbors with real entrepreneurs. These were real adults, you know, and this is how they made their living. And they would be giving us tips. And one lady who was next to me, she was like, "You guys have something really special because our hats, you know, we would be selling out of them like left and right, and we would be making with our little glue gun like right on the spot, custom the hat, doing the customization to the hats." And I remember saying to the lady on the last day, she was like, "I need you to really get focused because you guys have something that could really grow." And it just kind of sat with me, even though I didn't stay with making trucker hats and doing any kind of like fun t-shirts and all the stuff like we used to do. It just made me understand that when you decide to become an entrepreneur, to really take it serious, it may be birthed out of a passion or a hobby, but once you make the decision and cross that bridge to becoming a professional business, then take that very serious.
I think that's so important because the next time around you took it very serious because you, like you said, you were in retail and makeup, and this was at a time when big names were starting their brands. Nowadays that's kind of normal, but you were kind of at the beginning of all of this when makeup went from like Revlon and CoverGirl to names like makeup artists making
Yes.
their way.
Yeah, it was a really it's a big turning point, right, in the industry. We had waves of people in the past creating brands like Naomi Sims. We definitely want to give love to the Black founders that came out in
Iman, yes.
Iman, they in the 80s, and then there were even other people, like I can't remember her name, but she had a place in Brooklyn and I always used to go to her spot, and I'm sure Thais knows, so it was in the Albee Square Mall, but she had like a little kiosk stand there, and Sade Cosmetics, that's what it was. So there,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Okay. All
So,
right. See, this is where you and your canonical knowledge is coming
yes.
in handy.
So, I just remember seeing these makeup artists make brands. It's just not until we see really Mac, Bobby Brown, and Laura Mercier make a brand and it become like explosive. And Mac would definitely be like at the forefront of that.
And there you were, right in the middle of it as an employee at the time.
Absolutely. I was hired by Mac in like 1999, 98, like tail end of 98. I remember I actually saw an article in the Daily News. I was temping at the time, and I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do in my life. We kind of skipped all over, but I left Howard University due to like a really unfortunate incident that happened to me. So my parents came and they got me from school my junior year, U-Haul truck. It was really traumatizing, like packed me up, brought me home. And then when I got home, I was just kind of like not sure what I was going to do in my life because I had really focused on becoming an anthropologist. That was what I wanted to do. And I wanted to take that anthropology and take it around the world and like live and like at a tribal level, like discover things and, do digs and archaeological finds. That's what my passion was. And then that wasn't going to happen. So I had to like regroup and figure things out. And so when I got back home, I'm temping. And then I was working at this one job. They kind of had, how a temp job becomes more permanent. So I ended up as an office manager at a company called Emmy Company, and it was in Soho. It was on Spring Street. And in that building, there were like Seven of All Mankind had just started. Vernon Jolly, who was a representative who represented photographers like David LaChapelle and Stephen Klein. He was in the building. A lady named Betty Wright Represents, who represented makeup artists and hairstylists and fashion stylists. She was in the building. And then a young new designer named Kate Spade, would be in that building. So I would be at all their little after parties, shingdingies, sample sales, and networking. And I remember Betty Wright telling me, "Your makeup is always beautiful." This also is because I danced growing up. So I had a really strong knowledge of face, putting on a good face from the age of probably 6, because I was dancing constantly and competitively dancing and doing it professionally, even by the time I became a teenager. So I was very comfortable with putting makeup on me, but also on people because I would do my fellow dance partners, put their lashes on, put their lips on, whatever, do their baby hairs. And so I was comfortable with a brush and I was comfortable with doing makeup, even though I'd not studied makeup. And so Betty Wilson goes, you should apply for a job at that Mac store that just opened on Spring Street. I didn't know what Mac was at the time. And so I walked down Spring Street. We were at Spring and Lafayette. And so I walked down to where it is, which is like, I think between Green and whatever the next street is, and went into Mac, and it was like the rest was history. I was like blown away. It was like the mothership is here. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Look at all these colors. Look at all these textures. Look at how fabulous these people are who work here. They're wearing all black. I wear all black. It just made sense. And so I end up being like addicted, like going to Mac all the time, whether I was spending money there all the time or helping people when they came in the store, even though I didn't work there. I would be like, hey, you need this color. And I'm giving consultations. And eventually it took notice of the manager. And she came over to me one day and she was like, do you work at one of the other Mac stores, maybe Christopher Street or the new store, the new pro store? And I said, oh, no, I just love makeup. She started laughing so hard. She was like, oh my gosh. She said, you need to apply for a job at this store. She said, because you cannot be in here giving consultations and you're not a professional makeup artist. Because I wasn't. I was in there telling people what you should get this chestnut, girl. This is everything. You know, I'm selling it like a maniac. And so I applied and didn't get the job. So I was devastated. But then back to the daily newspaper, I'm at my temp job and I open it up and I see at the back in the classified, Macys Herald Square opening Mac counter, the first Mac counter in the country, and job openings. And of course, it's today, the cutoff date, the day I'm reading the paper. True story. And so I asked the company that I'm working with, you know, the manager that I'm at the temp agency, like, can I leave a little early? They said, no, you can't leave early today. It's last minute. So I just hustled down there because I was at about 44th and 5th where I was working. And I just literally hustled it down to 34th Street, ran into human resources. I got there a little bit after 5, maybe like 5:10, 5:15. And they literally closed the jobs. It was closed. So I sat down because they had all these chairs out and I just was like, God, what is happening, you know? And this man came out from the back and he was like, what are you doing here? And I said, I was here for Mac, but you guys closed it. The lady said like 10 minutes ago. And he said, no, you look like a Mac girl. Come with me. And he took me back. Thank God for that Dominican brother. Okay. He was like, you look like a Mac girl like that. And he was like, come with me. And so I go to the back and it's all draped in, you know, black piping and the Mac logo and all of the leaders of Mac are there in all black and their chic outfits. And I was just like, I just felt right at home. And I was actually interviewed. It was supposed to be very short, but it ended up running over like 40 something minutes. And they were just like, wow, you pretty much have this job, but you have to do a makeup test on a model. And I was like, sure, bet, no problem. Why? Because I had the skill set of being comfortable with already doing makeup on people because I was doing it all the time dancing as a child. And so I grabbed my best friend, Kathy, who's Italian and lighter skinned. And I said, Kathy, if I do it on you, they're going to hire me because they're going to be like, this Black woman knows how to do all people's skin tone. I was thinking that way already back then. I was in my
You already knew, understood the assignment of, you were
assignment.
like plotting ahead, which is very important.
Yeah. And so I went to the Mac Pro store with my bestie, and they were literally testing all the makeup artists like out in front of each other. So imagine like it looks like backstage, you know, at a runway show at New York Fashion Week, and it's like 10 makeup artists with their vanity, with their lights, and then they allowed us to pick all the Mac products and to use the brushes because they wanted to see how we worked with the product. And I killed Kathy's makeup. Her makeup looked amazing. And then Kit Hamilton, who was the manager for that counter, came over and said, amazing work. Now throw some lashes on her. And I guess she thought she was challenging me, but I was putting lashes on since I was 6. It was nothing.
And this is before lashes were lashes. These were not the like peel and glue lashes of today. This requires some skill.
No, these were human hair lashes to be, in fact, you know, we didn't know about veganism back then, but these were like human lashes, human hair, natural lashes, you know, coming from real hair. And my mom wore lashes all the time. So I had a lot of practice watching her. My mom performed. My aunt was a model. My sister was a hairstylist. So all of beauty was just always in my wheelhouse. And I passed the test with flying colors, got the job at Mac, walked outside with my bestie, pulled out a Newport because I smoked at the time. smoked my cigarette while guys hit on her. And she was like, girl, you're gonna have to do my makeup all the time because these men can't stop talking to me. And that was when the light bulb hit me that, wow, makeup has a really big effect, on people and how people perceive you. Because when we went into the test, men weren't huffing and hollering. Not that she's not beautiful, but a lash and a little makeup and her, she just looked like a cover girl. So I realized the impact of how serious makeup was that moment, even though I was just taking this kind of lightly, so to speak, but serious at the same time, because I knew doing a whiter skinned person or a lighter skinned person would definitely have me seen. So yeah, the rest
Oh,
is
and also
history.
what you know, which I think is really important about your journey, which I think is very inspirational. Um, a lot of this is still the same in entertainment and makeup. As digital as we've all become, as virtual as everything has become, makeup and hair is still in person. Like that is not something that you can do over Zoom.
During the pandemic, I did a lot of Zoom tutorials, and I think a
Well,
lot.
yes, tutorials, and you have an amazing. You did a lot of videos. You were doing videos before videos were videos. So yes, but when you're looking at it from a career perspective, you still got to get in those spaces.
Yeah, you do. And unless you're really a content creator, and that's a different animal. It's a different job, right? It's a different title. To be a content creator doesn't necessarily mean celebrity makeup artist. It means it may cross pollinate to overlap at times, but it typically is if I'm making content, I'm in the space of making content. And if I'm a celebrity makeup artist, I'm doing celebrity makeup. So I just feel like that is something that should be separate because you do need to know how to apply makeup to another person, not just yourself. And I have had content creators say, you know what, I'm not comfortable putting makeup on other people. And so I feel like if you're a content creator, don't step into this space unless you are very comfortable in that. And the same goes for makeup artists who want to be content creators. If you're really camera shy and it's hard for you to express yourself and you're really super, super introverted and you're just really that artist, then maybe content creation is not for you because you don't want to do something that's like literally uncomfortable for you as well. You want to be comfortable because when you're comfortable, that's when things are flowing, that's when things move, and that's when things grow.
Well, and also in the beauty industry, vibes are very key. Like what we've heard in the span of your early trajectory, so much of it was people saying, you've got it, you've got it. It's still like that. And that's why it's important for people who want to do this. You have to be in the street. You have to be at the after party even today. You have to get a day job. I laugh because everyone wants the virtual job. Would you be where you are today if you had been working at home with your pajama bottoms?
No, no, not at all. Not at all. To be a makeup artist and a professional makeup artist or celebrity hairstylist, either one, it requires connecting with people and networking, building your community. Because, one wrong thing with a client that can circulate throughout the industry very fast. It happens. It happens to my friends. It's happened to me. You have one client not use you, or you and the client break up, and so now the whole world thinks you suck, but that's may not be the case. So you have to still stand on 2 feet, and how you're going to grow from those places when you do get, so to speak, like blacklisted, or people not messing with you anymore.
Sideline. Let's just say sideline.
Sideline. If you get sidelined by people, you have to be confident in your skill, in your artistry, and know that no one or nothing can block you. No one or nothing can. It may be temporary. Just keep doing what you're doing because people are going to see you. And it's all about the connections you made with those people, all in that community. So if one person's sidelining you, you have 50 other people that you've made amazing relationships with that know you, that know you're genuine, that know your artistry, knows your skill, and they're going to keep giving you those chances. I've had that happen to me where a client just stops using you because they made a choice that they don't want to wear makeup anymore, or they decide, they want to try something different. And I tell other celebrity makeup artists, because they'll call me, like, this happened to me. I know this happened to you with so and so. Like, I'm so stressed. I'm like, you be stressed for 5 minutes. Allow all the feelings to feel, but then let that ish go. Because at the end of the day, no one makes or breaks you. No one, only God. So just make sure you're kind and nice and just a great person, because that assistant, when you started 10 years ago, is now the president of the label. That assistant is now a CEO of their own company. And because you were kind to the assistant, who cares that their client that was working with you back then doesn't like you, doesn't want to work with you anymore, because their assistant now is in charge and you were kind to them. So that's what has been a saving grace for me in my career whenever I've been sidelined by a client. Because it
And see,
happens.
when you look at it, it happens in all of us. I always say, look, we're all on the merry-go-round. You hold on to your little horse as long as you can. At some point, the ride is going to stop,
Save
and
your
you're
money.
going to end up back in the line, and you're going to be humbled, humiliated, upset. But while you're in that line to get back on the merry-go-round, be working on different hustles, be improving your skills, making connections, because you will eventually have another chance and you'll do better. You'll stay on longer. And then you
Yes.
might get kicked off again and repeat and reuse.
Repeat, rinse,
But I think
recycle.
what's great, go ahead.
I said repeat, rinse, recycle,
1,000%, and I think though what happens is when you get on, when something happens, when you get sidelined, you learn how to diversify your income, and in particular if you have kids. So how do we go from Mac girl, you then get the opportunity to work with other people and their brands, you then become you then make it all your way to Hollywood and all of these things, and then how do we go from Mac girl to own makeup brand?
So it's a 25-year journey, but when I started at Mac was quick lived. I was only at Mac for about maybe 2.5 years. It was really short.
You
Um,
got what you needed out of it.
I got what I needed out of it, and actually, I'll tell this story. I was fired from Mac because I was in an abusive relationship with my daughter's father, and so I would be at the counter, and he would be home watching her because he wasn't working and I was working, and so she's an infant, and he would call the counter like, "Hurry up and get home. She won't stop crying. I'm gonna effing kill her." So I'd have to drop everything at work, take 2 trains because I lived in Brooklyn in Sunset Park, from 34th Street to Sunset Park, get there, fight and holler with him for hours, be abused, and then grab my daughter and leave and go to my mom's house. And it was just this terrible cycle that I was literally living through while working at Mac. I would have busted lips, I would have bruising, I would have, all kind of stuff happening to me. And so Federated Department Stores, which is the Macys system, and those stores that they're owned by Federated, has a policy, with lateness as well as absences. And I had clearly broken all of them due to my circumstances. Had I been at a Mac store, I wouldn't have gotten fired. My managers knew what I was dealing with, but Federated had this policy, so they had to let me go. So the same day I was let go of, I was devastated, because you have to think like I finally thought I got back on track in life. I'm a new mom, I'm a young mom. I'm determined to become a makeup artist. I was just starting to see that through Mac that there was a world outside of retail, because Mac was pulling us into different things, to fashion events, to New York Fashion Week, backstage stuff, going down the fashion district and going to do like Diane von Furstenberg would have like a go see book, or a lookbook, so to speak. And so we would come and do that type of work. So I was starting to see that there was work outside. And so I was so devastated. So I'm walking down 34th Street crying hysterically. I get to 34th and 5th because my mom lives in Harlem, and I was heading there. And now I'm out of that relationship. Okay, just so you know, I've just got out of that relationship. I'm back home with my mom, with my 9-month-old, who is Nami. And so I get to 34th and 5th, and I run into Wilbur Ramos, another amazing Dominican man. And Dominicans have just been great to me, clearly. But I actually, no, seriously, big up to the Dominicans, okay? But Wilbur basically was like, "Why are you crying?" He used to work at Mac. And I was like, "I'm crying because they fired me." He was like, "No, no, I know what you've been going through. Come with me." And he drugged my ass to Henry Bendel, and he got me an immediate job with a new brand that had just launched called Laura Mercier. And Laura was physically there. Like, she wasn't there all the time, but she was there whenever she did training with us, hands-on education of her products, tutelage, all of that stuff directly from Laura. And she only had that store and Bergdorf Goodman. She wasn't anywhere else yet. So it was, I was with these brands like on the precipice of them like breaking, to the next level, from Mac to Laura Mercier. Laura saw talent in me, And she, would correct me when I made a brow too harsh. I'm like, no, 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 that's too harsh. You're doing it like the Mac girls. I want you to do it like my style, because it definitely is a style, to have more drawn on brows than
I
something.
mean, it's literally the yin and yang of beauty. You
Yeah,
got
it is.
Mac, you got
Yeah.
Laura Mercier.
Or
Because I remember going back and forth between a pageant and a TV show and your natural look, and the purple eyeliner at Mac versus the little eyebrow palette at Laura Mercier. It's a totally different situation.
totally different situation, but that made me a really well-rounded artist because I knew how to go avant-garde, I knew how to go crazy, and be creative, but I also knew how to do that clean, no makeup, no makeup, makeup look from Laura, and she started pulling me out. And so that job that happened that same day that I was fired, I ended up losing income but gaining twice the amount of income because I got paid double my rate.
Wow.
I was closer to home. My mom lived on 110th and 5th. You know where Henry Bendell's on 5th and 56th. So I could walk to work some days, put my headphones on and I would walk down Central Park and go to work. Just a whole different life, right? So once I got into that mindset, that's when I started to really network and hustle and build outside of the spaces of retail and start to do weddings, start to do music videos, start to do commercials, editorial. And from that experience, that's when I started getting celebrity clients. And once I started getting celebrity clients, my first celebrity client was Diddy. And so he was the very first client I ever got. And I was with him for 5 years. And I did everything with him, around the world. And so for me, I didn't plan on coming into the industry as a male groomer, but because of how huge Diddy was, he was huge then, huge now, right? He put me in a space where brands saw me. And that's when I started to get those brand affiliation of influential deals, brand ambassadorships. Then I started going in even deeper when I started working with Alicia and Rihanna and more women. Then I started to get paid for play. I started getting paid for red carpet. Then they started bringing me in. Hey, we want to bring you in the office. We want to have you look at these white label products that we have and tell us your thoughts. And I started writing down my thoughts. Now I'm doing R&D and product development. Then it got to, I sat down literally at Dior with the entire beauty team, including the president, and pitched to them why they needed to extend their shade range of foundation. And guess what you have the result of today? Dior Skin. Okay.
Wow.
So that's the kind of work that I was doing behind the scenes that people don't even know. Like, I wasn't the only makeup artist. We don't want to say that. There were other makeup artists that Dior was talking to, like Pat McGrath, like Mally Ronkel, people who were prominent in their industries, but we all contributed to Dior Skin existing because that's how brands develop product. They talk to real working makeup artists who are out here. Why? Because we have thousands and thousands of countless hours. We have hundreds of complexions and shapes and faces and everything that we are dealing with. And so it's easy for us to go, you know what, this product sucks. We know.
You know if it pills, you know if it gets greasy, you know if it doesn't cover because you've tried it. You're just like you're basically a surgeon
Yeah.
of makeup.
And you also do things that you don't even think of. Like, this color is great, but if I put this tidbit of purple in it, it's going to be like just the perfect fuchsia, like, so just that color theory that we're constantly using. I don't think I ever really used a color straight from the tube to Taraji's lips for Cookie's characters. I would customize every color that I put on her. She would be laughing at me. How many daggone colors you going? Because I wanted Cookie to have signature looks that were customized and created for her. And that's all just a part of the product development skill set that I was able to grow really kind of by accident by becoming a celebrity makeup artist. And I also am a product junkie. I think it helps to love products. If you see my house, you'd understand. So I am obsessed with products. Even having my own brand, I will always love products. I tell people, just because I have my own product line doesn't mean that I don't use other products, because that's not realistic. What's realistic is that I have created great products that do what I need them to do, but there are other products out there that do something else that I may like. So yeah, that's where all the product development came in. It came in through real experience.
Well, and here's the thing. One thing that people can understand is to do all of this. This was outside of your job. These are things that you had to. They sometimes it was within your working hours, but sometimes you had to make this happen. And then you have a daughter. You have to be present for her. You have to figure this out simultaneously, growing your career and making sure she's safe. How did you balance all of this? How did you figure out, okay, like the ROI on my time working on makeup versus the ROI on my time with my daughter?
So in the beginning, when I first got scooped into the whole celebrity world, I had to have support. So my mom, was my everything. She would be like literally like leave Nami, go do what you have to go do. So when I ended up with Alicia Keys in 2004 and becoming her makeup artist for 14 years practically, and I had another child in the midst of that too. So it was only through the support of my mom that I was able to really do what I was able to do, because I didn't have, support from partners in that way. And so my mom was like my everything. I also didn't trust people to have my kids, because we also know, right? So that's also like another thing you have to be worried about when you're traveling a lot, who's watching your kids. So that's where my support system came from, is my mom just happened to retire early and she happened to be home. And so she was also too not about me leaving her grandkids with just any and everyone, and was like, leave them with me. And so, how that worked for me, especially with Nami, because Nami, she comes into this business. I mean, she was at daddy's house at 3 years old. She'd be running all around daddy's house or running around Puff's, townhouse on Park Avenue. So she was like in it, if I was doing Usher, she was with me sometimes, like literally she was a part of the journey. And when I had to travel, it was really hard for her, because she didn't, I think, understand, because I would take her with me for a lot of my doing goes in New York City, because I would ask, everyone knew I was a young mom and she was so well behaved. I'd just give her a crayon, a coloring book, and she would literally like be so quiet in the corner, you wouldn't even know she was there. And so for the most part, unless it was like editorial or ad campaign or a music video, but if it was do and go, Nami was always with me. And so it was really hard for her to understand, like, you have to leave me. And so I remember one time the tour I was going on at the time with Alicia, we were going to Asia. And so I brought her down to my mom's house, and she was all like angry. And she went in my mom's bedroom and she was just in there for a while. And now, I'm leaving, I'm heading to the airport, and my mom calls me and she goes, you're not going to believe what this girl did. I was like, what did she do? She said, she threw all my shit out the damn window. I said, so my mom lives on the 20th floor. And she threw her wallet, her glove, her keys, a pillow, a pillow toss, like that you have on your bed, her her rain bonnet, like just anything she could find. She was just chucking it out the window, mind you, from 20th floor on 110th Street. Thank God my mom, went downstairs. She was able to retrieve her wallet. She was able to, and her wallet had a zipper. Never buy a wallet that doesn't have a zipper. Okay. She was able to retrieve one glove and her house keys, and everything else she couldn't find it. But she was like, as long as I got my wallet and my house keys, I don't really care. But when we asked Nami about it, because of course, I get her on the phone and she's like 4 years old. Nami, why would you do that? She was like, I'm angry. I'm angry. And I said, why are you angry? Because I don't know why you have to leave. And she spoke very clear. And I said, well, Nami, mommy's the only person that provides a living for us. And I know you don't really understand that now, but mommy has to do this. This is part of what mommy has to do. It's my job. And it's how I provide a living for us. And so she kind of like dealt with it. And I always made sure I called when we were overseas. We didn't have international phone plans back then. So you would have to get, your calling card and make your calls, use your hotel, and we didn't have FaceTime. We didn't have any way of like looking at each other. I'd be gone for 8, sometimes 12 weeks, overseas in Asia doing world tours. And it was so much fun as well, because I don't want to ever make anyone feel like I didn't have a good time. I had a great time seeing the world, but I cried a lot too. And anyone who was on that tour with me knows, all the moms, we would sit and cry on the tour bus. Denise Stoudemire, who used to sing background for Alicia, her and I were like the two only moms. And so I remember the two of us just sitting and literally like crying some days. And then we had other people on tour. They weren't moms, but they were like surrogates to their younger siblings. And so even they would be emotional, like not being around their younger siblings, or their younger siblings feeling a certain way because they weren't there, because they were kind of all they had too. So it's tough. Tour life is tough. It's a huge sacrifice. I know we see jets and Louis Vuitton and, red carpet dreams and caviar pleasure. We think that's what, being a celebrity makeup artist is. And that is definitely a part of it. But the bigger part of it is sitting, waiting, and being away from your family.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, you you have opportunities for your family, for your kids that you just don't have in any other way, shape, or form. I mean, you go from a a counter to a private jet. I mean, you literally your life has changed.
It does. And for
Your
me,
daughter is also exposed to this life. She's seeing elegance, and she's seeing her mom in the thick of it in a very esteemed position. That what kind of effect does that have on her? I mean, right now she's 25 years old, living her best life. Do you ever talk about the type of effect that seeing her mom in such a wonderful career trajectory had on her visions for herself?
definitely, I think Nami in the beginning, when she went to college with the idea of doing what she thought my mom and I would want her to do, because we wanted her to go to college. We wanted her to have the experience. Of course, I wanted her to go to college. I didn't complete college. So that was something that I wanted her to do for herself. And so for me, I think that mentality, she had to break what mom and grandma want her to do and really live for herself. And since she started doing that, kind of happened to her accidentally. She came home from college. She came to Chicago because I had then moved here to do Empire with Taraji. So I've been here for 10 years now. And so this was like season 2. She came and was like, I don't want to go to college and I want to stay home. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get you a job at Empire. Let's see if Paolo will hire you in costuming. And so Paolo hired her. He brought her on as a costume PA. And really, the rest is history. She's at FIT now. She wants to be a costume designer. She's since worked on so many shows from the age of 19 to 25. I mean, Survival of the Thickest, The Best Men, Final Chapters. She did something on Broadway recently that was incredible. She's done so many amazing projects. Empire, even she worked on Queen Latifah's show, The Equalizer, for 2 seasons. So she has literally built an amazing resume, and that resume came how? Through nepotism, through me. And that's what I always tell people. I said, we don't get in this position in Hollywood to not pass down the benefits to our children. That's what we do this for, so that they can have a smoother, easier ride. It's not that you do it so that you have all the benefits and all the accolades and all the red carpet. No, it's all about me. No, it's you're doing this for the generation behind you. And so I help out all the kids in my family and all the different people who have kids. They reach out to me like, my daughter wants to do makeup, or my daughter's trying to be a hairstylist, or my daughter's trying to be a costume stylist.
Come on, there's room for all of us.
The
And
best that
and
I can.
that is the most beautiful thing, and I love it because my husband refers to me and him as entertainment immigrants. Because we started our journey in entertainment. Ain't nobody done this before. We made so many mistakes. We wasted so much money. We wasted so much time. We got confused. But no surprise, our children express interest. My daughter's an Emmy nominee before she's 10 years old. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the beauty of it. All of my friends, you want your kid in this? Come on, join the club. I
Yeah.
will show you how to not get played.
Now,
And we're setting these kids up, and that's actually the beauty of that's why I have this podcast, Mompreneurs, because this is the way Black women over centuries have held it down and created generational wealth in the ways we can. And sometimes that's knowledge, sometimes that's blessings, and sometimes that's money and opportunity. So the more we can do that, the better our whole community is.
absolutely. The thing is that when we're elevating, we don't elevate to just go side to side. We elevate so that we can bring it down, and it should be a cycle like this, constantly flowing. Like I look at Rihanna and Fenty hair. Bravo to her. Okay, not only is she successful on her own, but she brought, Ursula, who was her former hairstylist, with Yusuf, who's her current hairstylist, and they both were with her for a long, long time. I worked with Rihanna as well, but I say bravo to her because she made them brand ambassadors to the hair brand line. And that's what a lot of celebrities sometimes forget. They make a line and they don't involve the team around them. They don't say, hey, I have a hairline. Let me make my hairstylist the head person for this hairline. They should be a part of developing every step of this hairline with me. Why? Because they care for your hair. That's just what should be done. It just makes sense. If I am a person of notoriety and I make a clothing line and have a phenomenal stylist, why wouldn't I sit with my stylist to say, hey, let's draft up some ideas. Let's do this together. But the unfortunate part is you have celebrities who won't even credit their glam, okay? Even on an Instagram post. I find it to be so repulsive, honestly, because people want to know who's doing your makeup. People want to know who does your hair. And people try to covet that and shield that, so that that person doesn't get seen. So why? Because they don't want someone else to take them away. I thank God none of my clients were ever like that. My clients always, since social media has existed, always tagged me, always gave me light, sometimes reposting what I post, but I look at that with certain celebrities who are like huge, and that one little shining light to your hair, makeup, or your clothing stylist could be like game changing for them. Like everybody can use a boost in income. Everybody can.
And then in exposure, because
And
that's the
exposure.
weird thing. It's just like you can be the most talented person in the world, and you could have the best ideas for a product line, and it doesn't mean anything if you can't get anybody to pay attention. And somehow, some way, you, after all these years of beautifying everybody and holding it down, you finally were able to start your own brand. What was the big break that took you from doing all this for other people, being supportive of everybody, to finally having a brand with your name on the product?
So this is actually my second go round. The first brand was Perfect Blend by Ashunta Sheriff. It was a double-ended foundation stick, and we came out in 2012. We were one of the first few Black-owned brands to go on QVC. We had a 5-star product. We went on 3 times, and on time number 3, I was hit with a trademark infringement lawsuit because my partner didn't do due diligence to make sure he trademarked the entire brand name. He didn't trademark Perfect Blend. He just did Ashunta Sheriff. And I don't know why he didn't do the whole trademark. And it still like baffles me to this day. But what I can say is that the things that we know about trademark now are we know way more extensive knowledge about trademarking, about compliance, about all of those things. Why? Because we have YouTube University. We have tons of people who are now not gatekeeping information, so that if you are a new founder to a brand, you can go, hey, what are the things that I need to be in compliant when I come out with a brand? What are the trademarks necessary? Because I didn't know those things. And I also was a highly in-demand makeup artist. I was on tour with Alicia, working with Rihanna, going here to there, everywhere. And so I really put all of my trust in my partner because he was a white man. True story. I was like, he knows this, and that's an assumption, right? That this man's a white man. He owns
You just
that.
gotta give. And also you had a lane. And this is the complicated thing. You know how like your mama and you were like, I don't trust my baby with anybody else. This is where the insecurities come from.
Right.
Because you tried to trust the situation. And this is every mompreneur's worst nightmare. It's like, okay, you delegate to your demise.
Delegate to my demise. And so got hit with trademark infringement, got pulled off air.
And that is so expensive.
It is. It was $1 million lawsuit. We had to pay $1 per piece for inventory. We had thousands of pieces. I had to then fetch the product out of QVC's warehouse. I had no place to put it. So I had to get a storage facility in New York. I had no place to sell this product. And it was just like, I was so devastated because, it was literally right when Instagram started. I had just posted my success being on QVC the first 2 times. And now it's all of a sudden the kibosh is on it and it's done. And, there's the embarrassment. There's also the loss of money, the time. And then simultaneously, all at once, that happened to me. I had an intense car accident that was a near-death experience, which took me out of work for 9 months. And then I lost Alicia as a client. This was all in 2012. This all happened. I'm talking about if hell was a year, it was 2012. It was 2012. I had the most hellish year. I had a Saturn return year. I never forget in astrology that word because I didn't even know what that meant. And then I looked it up and I was like, holy crap, I literally am experiencing this. So if anyone doesn't know, a Saturn return basically is when your grandfather planet Saturn, which is the elder, comes into your life to really unearth you so you can learn those hard lessons in
To
life and
teach
to
you that
teach you.
your easy success is behind you for a while. And
Right.
whatever's going to go down is going to go down with 18 times more work, sis. I just went through one.
Yeah,
The
so
struggle.
I mean it was intense. I mean near death, literally, losing my brand, I mean everything happening all at once. And so how did I survive that? I am a strong person that believes in God. My faith is truly truly in God. I'm grateful to my ancestors who walked this earth before me. My ancestors in the light, if it wasn't for them, I would not be here because they had to make those even harder decisions. And that's really what I thought of. I thought of my big mama, and I thought of rural Mississippi and how she had a farm and how she was, born in the early 19th century, and the obstacles that she faced probably felt like my 1 year every single day of her life, you know?
Girl.
And
Yes.
so that literally that's what got me to walk faster. I'm not even joking. Like my physical therapist, they were like, "You're not going to walk for like da da da," and I was walking in 6 months. Because I had a shattered hip bones, and so at the end of the day, it was like that was the determining factor for me. It was just thinking about Big Mama, thinking about Mama Ruby, thinking about my father, all these people from Mississippi, thinking about my mom, who's here with me still, but just even my mom being born in 1949, growing up in Mississippi, having to walk 2.5 miles to school, each day, each way, so I just thought of all the hardship, and I said, Ashunta, you can do this. You can do this. This is a lot, but you can survive this because your ancestors who are no longer here, they had to do this every day. So
Mm-hmm.
buckle up and get it together. And I talked myself through it. And I literally started going to jobs. Would have a cane, and I didn't care. I put all the vanity out. And that's also too, right? Sometimes there's a humility thing happening to you. And I'm not ever, ever, ever too big to ever say I didn't need humbling. Maybe I needed some humbling. Maybe too much was coming my way too soon. I don't think I was ever unapproachable or not nice or not a humble person, but I do think in your mind, how you think of yourself is untouchable because you're doing so many celebrities, you're so coveted after, everybody's wanting you, everybody's paying top dollar for you, your name is in all the circles, and then all of a sudden it's not. It is a very humbling experience, and that taught me to approach my career with even more zeal to push to have a brand. And so I didn't know when it was going to happen again, but I had to first like heal from all those wounds. So Taraji came into my life in 2004 when I did a movie with Alicia Keys with her. I was with Alicia on that movie. That's when I got grandfathered into the union, and me and Taraji stayed friends all those years. So 2014 she gets Empire. She can't bring me on. Lee's telling her, "No, girl, I got a team already." So I didn't do her for the show first season, but all the press, they hired me for everything. And literally, I started seeing Lee at different things because they did a New York Times roundtable together. We went to Europe and did press together. And so he got to know me, but then he also got to see my work. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, we want her. We'll bring her season 2." And they allowed for me to come and do Cookie's
Yay.
makeup for season 2, which led me to my Emmy nominations for 2 seasons back to back on Empire. I did 6 seasons on Empire out of the 7. And then I was in a space where I was like, okay, I could feel it was coming back, like I was ready. But the pandemic happened. And so when we got shut down, even though I hadn't fully gotten ready mind state wise to become an entrepreneur, I said, you know what, there's no better time than now. This is the time because I don't know if we're going to freaking work again. I don't know what's happened with this code. Like we all were on this, like we don't know what's going on. And so I literally told my husband, I said, I want to start a magnetic lash line. I like magnetic lashes. I had tried a few brands. I felt like they could be better in terms of the liner adhesive. I felt like I could do better in terms of the quality of the product of the lash because I can actually design it and not just pull lashes from stock. And I created Day and Nights. And Day and Nights launched in January 2022. And I was doing a few tutorial videos on Instagram, and I made a little Equit cart shop site with one page. It was real simple. And I was getting little orders here and there. And Taraji hits me. She goes, I want some of them lashes that you keep showing everybody you putting on. I want to try them. So I sent her some boxes, and she did a video on Instagram. I'm walking my dog one morning, and it's pandemic time and everybody's out walking, because it was like that. And my phone dies. And I'm like, why is my phone dead? It's the first thing in the morning. I just unplugged it. I get back to the house and I plug it in, and it's my Equid card is ching, 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 ching. And I had $50,000 in orders. And so again, celebrities out there, you can support your hair and makeup people. Like Taraji didn't partner with me in terms of, hey, I'll split this brand with you and be a 50-50% partner. But hey, I'll use my influence. I'll use my audience because you have something good here. And she loved the product, and I kept sending them to her. And, I worked with her all the way up until the end of 2022 is our last time together, and we don't work together anymore. But I mean, I am totally grateful to her for the rest of my life. That was the kickstarting money to help me birth 40 more products, and to be here 2.5 years now. Whereas this first time out, I didn't even get past 6 months. In 2012, I didn't even make it to 6 months. So to make it 2.5 years, where's some wood? I'm like, my table's made of marble, so I'm like, where's the wood? But to get to this place, and see more and more celebrities. Lupita's makeup artist used our glitter shadow palettes for the Oscar red carpet, or Divine Joy Randolph, Oscar winner, loves our brow gel and put it in the New York Post as one of her favorite products. Or Yaya DaCosta lets me do fantastic tutorials on her because she's like my sister. I've known her since she was 20. So, it's just, that's the support that we have to give, and we have to give it with love and kindness, and want to do it for each other, not just for ourselves. When people send me product, they're like, can you post this? I'll be honest, I only post certain things on my feed, but I'll always share it on my stories. I always will. And I tell them that. Now, if it's something else that's not necessarily competitive, I would say, but it's something unique and it's a makeup product and I don't make it, I definitely will put it on my feed. Absolutely. We don't make lip glosses, so I would definitely put it on my feed. We don't have lip glosses yet. So, there's a way we can always collaborate and cross-pollinate as brand founders and as Black female entrepreneurs to help each other.
I think you're 100% right. And also, I think it's important to ask, right? Like you should ask. And it's what's funny about you is a lot of things come to you. You are so accomplished and you have so much capacity that often those people have a difficult time promoting it. Is this something that you've had a struggle with? Like asking, do you reach out and say, hey, can you promote my thing? Or is that something that you've had to improve upon?
I've had to
To
improve. I've had to improve because you get a little bit shy. You don't want anyone to go, no, I can't do that.
I
And
know it's so
so
heartbroken, even though nothing is a no.
yeah, right. So nothing is still a no. So I've grown the kahunas to be able to ask people now. And I've had clients go, well, I'm not going to post on my feed. I'll put it in my story. And I'll tell them, I'm like, well, that really doesn't help my brand. Because for me, if it's a celebrity and they don't have a direct endorsed partnership contract, then you're a free agent. So you can post whatever the heck you want. So what do you mean you can't post this on your feed? So it's just really interesting. People, it's the quintessential story, I think, of rap artists that they've got to go outside of their city to become popular. Like you can be from New York City, but you may not gain notoriety in New York City till you have a show in London. And then everyone in New York City goes, oh, he is amazing. He was in London. I feel like that's the same way with makeup brands. I think of Danessa Myricks. She's had amazing products from inception. From inception, I used her products and supported her heavily. Like when she first had her Enlighten powders, they were constantly used, on Cookie and on most of the characters on Empire. Soraya, I would use it all the time on the body, and I just remember like her saying how hard the journey was and how many people just weren't giving her the love, wouldn't post the product. And here I am, a celebrity makeup artist, and my fellow Black woman has a product line and I'm actually using it. She never had to worry about that. I always wrote about it in magazines. I quoted what products I was using. I had told Taraji about it. I gave Taraji product. Taraji loved the product. That's how we should be. That's how we should be. There's no diminishing me by uplifting you. And that's what we have to break. We have to break that unfortunate generational curse that is on us as Black people, because that's something that, people don't want to really talk about it, but that's the trauma residue from slavery. And we don't realize that us pitting against each other, not wanting to see each other win, talking down on each other, not supporting this, not knowing how to collaborate, not knowing how to be kind, not knowing how to say, hey, sis, your hair looks beautiful, not knowing how to give a compliment without a backhanded response. We have to eradicate those types of behaviors, because that's what's continuing to push this narrative that we can't come together as Black women. And I don't think there's any reason we can't. We can absolutely do it. But it has to also start from the top down, and I say top as in, I'm not saying they're the top, but celebrities in terms of the top of the food chain, right? Because that's who we're typically working for if you're a celebrity makeup artist. Or if we're looking at trend forecasting, we're looking at magazines who are looking at who? Celebrities. So celebrities are at the food chain at the top. It is up to the celebrity to have the knowledge to pour back into the teams they hire. Whether it is shouting them out, talking about their product line, saying, hey, my makeup artist has this awesome product line, do a live with them. It is no harm in that. And if you want payment from it, do a part. There's tons of splits that can be done now. Like there's way different ways, to make money if that's your end game. Like, I can't promote someone because I'm not making a dime from it. If that's your problem, then go to that person and go, hey, I'll do it, but I need a 40-60 split or whatever the split is, because sales can be split. You can create
Sales can be split. And I think that's what I think is really important about these types of conversations. Because honestly, I think a lot of it, people aren't even thinking about it. And then maybe they are thinking about it, but then they have the thought you have about need to make a profit. And then they don't even think about a split, or people are just afraid of even broaching the conversation. So it's good to unpack a lot of this. And I think that what we are seeing is a lot of us breaking the cycle. I know with my girlfriends, we laugh, we talk about the people who brought us into our worlds and the harried relationships often, and we're just like, not today, Satan. I was like, that's not how we're rolling. Okay, we're just being candid. We are not playing around. We're giving each other grace, but we also are giving each other expectations. Exactly. And actually that segues right into my favorite segment, which is called Mompreneurs Manifestation. And I ask all of our guests, what's next for you? What are you trying to make happen? How can we help bring it into the universe? And since you're a Saturn return girl, I know you are a fan of the manifestation, because we've seen it in your life. The Macys was closed. They still brought you on. You just lost your job. You run into that Dominican brother. You have had moments in your life where things could have just gone a very opposite direction. So what are you hoping manifests next for you?
So I am hoping to manifest an amazing book on the journey of my life. I'm working on that now. And it's something that 10 years ago I could have wrote. I had enough life experience then, but I didn't have this leg, which is the entrepreneur piece in terms of real success, because I had the failure, the bankruptcy, what have you. So I needed that valley, to be able to now tell this side of the story, which is a successful brand that's been running for almost 3 years, that's cash flow positive, those types of things. And so that's like really, really top of my list for 2025. I'm manifesting a book deal. And
well, this is the perfect place for that, girl. I will just circle back with you offline and help you with that.
Okay.
That's an easy lift.
Okay. And then the other thing, I have several TV show ideas that have been, one is 18 years in the making. And actually my partner, Tim Sam Shaka, who's a producer and an awarded voice actor as well. She used to be a producer at BET. She's one of my dear friends. We worked on this project together. It's called No Rules to Hip Hop Beauty. And we have an amazing deck. We have everything. And we've gotten so close to like literally Plan B, which is Brad Pitt's company. We had 4 calls with them. And then guess what happened? They furloughed everyone. So that's what happened there. And none of those people are back. So we can't even recircle the conversation. But it is an amazing docuseries that really just is my homage, my love letter to hip hop and beauty, and how they have both changed my life. So
is it scripted or unscripted?
It's a unscripted show, and it basically would do a lot of talking heads, a lot of interviewing with a lot of hip hop and R&B adjacent legends. It also goes into the looks, the trends, because we know that the trends that hip hop beauty has created are global. You know, they're super global. All the things that these girls have done in hip hop, from Little Kim to Mary to Queen Latifah, are global makeup trends. And so I want to bring honoring to not just the makeup itself, but also to the people, the tastemakers and the bricklayers who are there creating those looks. So think of this kind of like the remix, but for makeup. And so we're really looking for a home. So hopefully somebody out there hears me and goes, you know what, I think this would be a great show. But we have an amazing photographer and director named Jonathan Mannion, who's world renowned, who's already attached himself to this project with us and believes in us. Why? Because I worked with Jonathan. I did most of my male grooming work, you know, which is beautifying men, ladies and gentlemen, because my son told me that's a bad word now since everything's happening in the universe. He said, you can't use male grooming. It's terrible. So beautifying men, I have to find another term for it. But yeah, so I really, really, really want this project to come see the light of day, because this project will not only be inspirational to every Black and brown little girl to know that their beauty trend that they start right from the hood becomes a global trend on the fashion, you know, stages for the world to see. And I don't think that, you know, Black little girls understand that sometimes, you know, because we're not always seen in that way in the world. We definitely are seen way more than we were when I was growing up, because I was born in the 70s. And so we didn't have, you know, the amount of examples that we have now that my daughter and even my stepdaughter, who's 16, can grow up with. You know, she has a scissor to look at, you know, she has Rihanna, but she has so many other people to look at and go, you know, I can do this or I can do that. When I was
Well, and I
growing,
think it's also important to not only see it and realize it, but then also not be left out of the financial compensation for it. That's a whole other podcast.
you
And I
know,
think we need to, that is actually a very important aspect of this, is recognizing your worth, your talent, and also not just, you know, just figuring out the system so that you are properly compensated for the incredible stuff that you bring to society. So that's a whole conversation. I hope we can have another one. I'd love to do Where Are They Now? Hopefully I'll have you back next year and you'll have your book and your show in production. Woo, claiming it. But Ashunta, right now you have to tell everyone where we can find you.
Okay, everyone can find our product lines at www.ashuntabeauty.com. And you can find me on social media personally at Ashunta Sheriff Kendricks. And you can find the brand at Ashunta Sheriff Beauty, both on Instagram, at Ashunta Sheriff Beauty on TikTok.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This was the best because you are so inspirational. You have made it happen. You listened to the science. You did the work. Yeah, you got knocked down, you got back up, and here you are today. So thank you so much for sharing your very inspirational story.
Oh, thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Mompreneurs, for having me. And I will leave your audience with one word: is be resilient. One no doesn't mean no forever. So no for
One
now.
humbling doesn't mean humbled forever.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. Thank you all for listening to and watching Mompreneurs. As a reminder, a brand new episode goes live each Monday on Urban One Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit urban1podcast.com to learn more. That's urban1podcast.com. Mompreneurs is brought to you by the Urban One Podcast Network and MadameNoire. Created, produced, and hosted by me, Nancy Wren. Executive produced by Allison McGovna and Tanya Hoffler-Moore. Produced and edited by Jiminique Miller.